This album is a refreshing palate cleanser in a genre that I have not yet done on the channel. I re-listened to Cold Beer and Country Music, Zach Top's 2024 debut album, this past week, and I felt the need to share my unwanted opinion on country music. I've been doing a lot of alternative, a little bit of rock, a little bit of rap. Let me preface this review by saying that this is not for the weak. This is classic 90s country music, not whatever they call country now with Morgan Wallen or Casey Musgraves or Riley Green. Throw all your preconceived notions about country music that you've been exposed to in this horrible era of country music out the window. But if country music isn't your sound, just in general, this is definitely not for you. But to me, this guy has great sound. It's like he's a spawn of Alan Jackson. I definitely get a little Brooks Dunn as well. But he's pulling influences from everywhere. I know that he said himself he's hugely influenced by the traditional country sound. And when I say traditional, I don't mean like super traditional. I mean, within the last 50 years. This album really reeled me in with just such great, pure honky-tonk sound in the beginning. It is like you're listening to Brooks and Dunn on the first two songs especially, but you do get that in some other songs as well. But first two songs, really, you just really get that feel. He has an effortlessly smooth voice and simple country riffs and drum patterns. But this is my bone to pick with the country genre that I've kind of developed a love and hate relationship with over my time. It's a basic formula, and as much as I hate to say this about a genre that I do enjoy, albeit guilty pleasure, you really don't need much talent to make it in the industry. I think Beyonce is a timely, relevant example, and I think that this literally proves her point of doing what she did. In my opinion, the whole downfall of the country genre started with Florida Georgia Line, Sam Hunt, Kane Brown, kind of like early 2010s a little bit. But just those kinds of people who've concocted just a really pathetic collection of substanceless lyrics and pop-infused country music where they just borrow from pop and it just doesn't sound good. I think the true voices of country, to me at least, and when I say modern country, I think like modern in quotes here, because obviously there's traditional influence in country music and like ethnic influence, historical influence in country music. But the true voices of modern country from the last 100 years, Hank Williams, Merle Haggard, George Strait, they would be furious at the bastardization of such a classic and beautiful sound. Their music seemed to have purpose and often harsh, blunt lyricism that told stories of love, heartbreak, and regret. It just sort of became an outlet for these newer artists to talk about, beer and women in a country twang that doesn't really seem authentic. And Zach Top is incredibly guilty of that. I will say that his lyrics do give me that same feeling. That's fine. Not giving this guy a 10 out of 10. Spoiler alert. I mean, we'll see. But the album is called Cold Beer and Country Music. I think there's bound to be a lot of instances throughout his songs where he's just throwing together senseless country buzzwords and, following simple patterns, country, algorithm. It's par for the course, I'll say. But I do want to point out that as a whole, his production is rooted in the essence of country music origin, the last century of country music. He pulls from these other artists and this other style of music that he's kind of trying to revive here. Which is why it makes everything sound a little bit better, to me at least. It's it's sad, it's happy. He's got some different themes of the same, like love, heartbreak, regret. There's some cheating songs. My favorite song is Use Me, which is just that golden era cheating song sound, which is classic in modern country. It's very raw, very emotional. But each song is genuinely so different and can provide you with such varying senses and emotions. It gives you a taste of his range in what some people, and I would too, deem a very limited genre. I also feel like each song, like I said, is inspired by different artists he's been influenced by in his pretty young life. I think he's like a couple years older than me, but that's neither here nor there. The main thing is that I don't believe this sound is replicable and will survive in this era of music. He'll always have his niche, and I will be a part of it, but I wouldn't be shocked if he sold out once he truly because he has blown up, but once he truly blows up, I wouldn't be shocked if he sells out, kind of switches to a different genre, a little maybe fusion genre of pop country, or he just kind of plateaus after a few albums with the same sound and structure, or he could, take off and become the next Alan Jackson. I don't know if that'll happen, but it's always possible. I think that's the less likely of the three options I presented. But don't get me wrong, I like the sound, but I don't think it's sustainable, especially in today's fast-changing, trendy culture. As for the album itself, there are a few songs I'm not a fan of and would probably skip depending on the day. I did listen. First listen, I was able to listen all the way through. Second listen, I kind of skipped. I knew what I was going to hear. There's The Sun, The Kind of Woman I Like. Not really for me. Those are just a couple of them that I don't really like. But still, regardless, if you listen to them, it feels like he's opening a time capsule with his lyrics and just the guitars. It just sounds like he was ripped straight out of the mid-90s. I Never Lie seems to be the consensus hit song, and I get it. Not a huge fan of it. It's unique. To me, like with the opening and the hook, it sounds like You Don't Seem to Miss Me by George Jones. And I guess maybe, I'll say it for the third time, I think this is the point of the album. Each song is an ode to a different classical country music artist that he's been influenced by. So I think that he was trying to go for that. If he was, good on him. I love that. I think that's a great use of a debut album, especially in a dying industry, country music industry. Overall, I give it an 8 out of 10 with the potential to get better depending on how his career goes. I would say it's only up from here. And if this album was like an audition for American Idol or something, or America's Got Talent, he would get the golden buzzer. There's a couple skips, but it's definitely well worth the listen if you like that classic country sound.